Hi, I'm Adam with Finding Self-Reliance. In our last video, we poured a slab that's going to be the foundation for the pump house for our well. In this video, we're going to start building that pump house. We got a kit from Lowe's, and it comes with most of what you need, but you do need to buy some of your own hardware, paint, roofing materials, and a few other things. Here, my wife is laying out some pressure-treated 2x4s that are going to be the wall bottom plates. And we're anchoring the plates to the concrete slab with a 22 caliber concrete nailer. With the foundation done and the bottom wall plates secured, it's time to open up the kit. Now, this shed kit comes with most of the materials you'll need, but there are some things you still need to get on your own. The first step was to build the back wall frame, and the instructions tell you where to lay out all of the pieces, and then you just nail them together. We only have one framing nailer, so my wife and I took turns putting this thing together. After the back wall frame is nailed together, you just nail on the siding, and then you assemble these pieces they call wing panels. These are the pieces that go on the ends of the walls where the roof starts to angle down. Next, we needed to assemble the front wall panel, and the steps were pretty much the same. The instructions show you where to lay out all of the pieces, and then you just nail them together. And then, of course, you follow pretty much the same steps for the two side walls. After all of the wall panels are put together, it's time to assemble them. You center the wall panel on the bottom wall plate. Use a piece of wood as a brace to hold it in place, and then secure it to the bottom wall plate. The studs are secured with wood screws, and the panels are nailed in. The side walls are installed next, and they're done the same way, using wood screws through the studs and nails through the wall panels. And after the side walls go up, the front wall is installed. The only real difference with the front wall panel is that there are some trim pieces as well. After all of the wall panels are installed, the next step is to get the rafters ready. The rafters are mostly assembled, but you do have to attach the gussets at the top with some nails. Then the rafters can be installed. This is a two-person job, not because the rafters are super heavy, but they're kind of big and awkward. After the rafters and joists are installed, it's time to start putting up the roof panels. This is done with a framing nailer and 2-inch nails. At this point, you can see that we got all of the roofing panels on, but everything is not perfectly square. A lot of the wood that came with this kit was either twisted or warped or damaged in some way. So we did the best we could, but not everything lines up perfectly. Now, I admit that we're not master carpenters, so I'm ready to take some responsibility. But with the quality of the wood that came in this kit, I cannot accept all responsibility for things not being perfectly square. After the roof panels were installed, the next step was to start putting on shingles. This part took a little longer than I thought it would, but eventually we got it done. My wife did most of the work here. She was up on the ladder and on the roof most of the day. She would give me some measurements, I would cut the shingles to the size she needed, and then she would go ahead and nail them in. When we were finishing up, we had a few visitors. There were a couple of horses running around, and it appeared that they had a bit of trouble finding their way around the fence.
Should we get them some water or something?
Well, I think by the time you go and get some, they're going to be gone. But eventually they did manage to find their way out. After we said goodbye to our visitors, we put the finishing touches on the roof, and then the shed was done, except for the fact that it needed some paint. About a week later, we did get a couple of coats of paint on the shed. We hired my daughter and her friend to do the painting, and they were inexperienced, so the paint is not perfect, but it's good enough for now. I just wanted to give you a few final thoughts on the shed kit we bought from Lowe's. Originally, we were going to have somebody else assemble the shed for us to save time, but it was going to be about 6 to 8 weeks before someone could come out, and that kind of defeats the purpose of hiring someone to save time. However, it's my understanding that a team of 2 can put this thing together in a single day, and it took us the better part of a week. The shed kit itself does have some pros and cons. The instructions that came with it were pretty clear and easy to understand, so that makes putting things together a lot easier. But, as I pointed out earlier, a lot of the wood that came with this kit was warped or twisted or damaged in some way. We could have returned and exchanged the damaged pieces, but the closest Lowe's to us is about a half an hour drive in each direction. So that would be an hour of driving, plus the time it would take to find someone at Lowe's to actually help us, and then to find replacement parts and check out. Now, every time we've been to Lowe's in the last couple of months, it's a pretty long process. You have to plan on being there for a while. So we elected to just make the best of what we had and try to make things look as good as we could, even though things didn't always line up the way they should. So overall, I would say that I was satisfied with this shed kit, and if someone asked me, hey, do you recommend that? I would probably give it a reluctant yes. It was pretty good, but it did have some issues. We used a kit because we thought having a kit with all of the pieces you need and clear assembly instructions would be the fastest way to get a building done, and this building is going to be the pump house for our well, and we want to get some water and some power on the property as soon as possible. That's why we went with a kit. We are going to be putting up additional outbuildings, but for the future buildings, we're going to be using some alternative building methods. We looked at a number of different alternative building methods like earth bags, rammed earth, cob. We came across some videos talking about aircrete, which looked interesting to us. And then when we were researching aircrete a little more, we found some videos about using, I guess they call it EPS-crete, expanded polystyrene. It's basically mixing cement along with recycled and shredded styrofoam, and then a couple of other ingredients to bind everything together. And that makes really well insulated walls. So we're probably going to do the EPS-crete for insulation for the shed that we just built. And then our additional buildings, we may do aircrete, but we found some videos where someone is using aircrete and recycled styrofoam, and it makes a good insulative wall. But then for strength, they add some mesh and some stucco on the outsides to give it more stability. So we're looking into that for our future buildings. But I'm glad that this building's up. Now we just got to get our pump guy to come out and put a pump in our well. And I'm going to be installing an off-grid solar power system, so we'll have water and power here soon. And then we'll get started on the next outbuilding. That's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.